Human mechanic saves 2 dragons. By dawn, even their elders kneel. Comment where you are watching from. The wind never stopped on the scrap world of Lotties. 9. It pushed dust across the metal ground and made old ship parts cry like lost voices. Milo Varick walked through the broken field with a tool bag on his back and a light in his hand. He was a human mechanic, and this place was his home. Most people left Lotties 9 long ago. There was nothing here but rust, silence, and old machines that no one wanted. Milo stayed because broken things made sense to him. If something failed, it meant it could be fixed. That night, he was searching for a power core he could use to run his small workshop. The sky was dark purple, and 2 moons hung low, watching like quiet eyes. Milo stepped over a fallen wing of a ship when he heard a sound that did not belong to metal. It was a soft cry. He froze. His hand went to the small cutter at his belt. The sound came again, weak and shaking. Milo followed it past a pile of bent pipes and broken panels. That was when he saw them. 2 small dragons lay on the ground, wrapped tight in thick black cables. Their wings were pinned, and sparks jumped from the wires. One dragon had blue scales, the other red. Both were young, no bigger than a small bike. Their eyes were wide with fear. Milo's heart hit his chest hard. Easy, he said, even though he knew they could not understand him. Everyone knew dragons ruled the skies of this system. They were powerful, proud, and dangerous. Humans stayed far away from them. Helping one could mean death. But these were not elders. These were children. The blue dragon tried to breathe fire, but only smoke came out. The red one snapped its teeth at the air. The cables tightened as they moved, digging into their scales. Milo looked at the wires. They were part of an old defense system, still alive after years of decay. One wrong move, and the whole thing could explode. He took a slow breath and set his tool bag down. Okay, he whispered. We'll do this slow. He pulled out a small light and shined it on the cables. The wires glowed with weak energy. Milo reached for his cutter, then stopped. Cutting could send a surge through the system. Instead, he pulled out a thin metal rod and slid it between 2 cables. He twisted it, just a little. The wires shifted and loosened. The blue dragon cried out. Its tail hit the ground. I know, Milo said. I'm trying. The wind picked up. Dust hit his face. His hands shook, but he kept working. One cable snapped free and fell to the ground. The red dragon pulled its wing back, slow and careful. Milo felt a small spark hit his arm. It burned, but he did not stop. Then he heard a sound far away. A deep roar rolled across the sky. Milo's blood went cold. That was not a young dragon. He worked faster. The last cable was thick and wrapped around both dragons' bodies. Milo slid the rod under it and leaned his weight forward. The wire stretched, then broke with a loud crack. The dragons were free. They did not run. They stood there, shaking, staring at Milo. Their eyes were bright and sharp. Milo slowly stepped back and raised his empty hands. I'm not here to hurt you, he said. The red dragon took a step forward. It lowered its head and touched Milo's boot with its nose. The blue dragon followed, pressing close to its twin. Milo let out a breath he did not know he was holding. The roar came again, closer this time. The ground shook. Milo looked up and saw a shadow pass over the moons. Yeah, he said softly. I figured that was coming. He picked up his tool bag and pointed toward his workshop, a small metal building not far away. This way, he said. The dragons did not understand his words, but they understood his movement. They followed him, wings low, steps uneven. Behind them, the sky thundered. Milo opened the door to his shop and waved them inside. The room was warm and filled with soft yellow light. The dragons hesitated, then stepped in. Milo closed the door and leaned against it. His heart beat like a hammer. Outside, something massive landed. Inside, two young dragons looked at him, safe for the first time since the cables had trapped them. Milo wiped the dust from his face and gave a small, tired smile. "Looks like we made it through the night," he said. Milo did not sleep that night. The small workshop hummed with low power, and the yellow lights cast soft shadows on the walls. The two young dragons sat near the center of the room, curled close to each other. Their wings were folded tight, and their eyes followed every move Milo made. He moved slow, like he was working near a broken engine that could explode if touched the wrong way. Milo filled a small metal bowl with water and slid it across the floor. The blue dragon sniffed it, then dipped its nose in. The red dragon copied it, and both drank in quick, nervous sips. "That's a good start," Milo said quietly. He opened a small storage box and pulled out strips of dried meat and nutrient bars. He tore them into small pieces and placed them on a flat tray. Then he pushed the tray forward and stepped back. The dragons did not move at first. The wind howled outside. A deep shadow passed over the roof. Milo felt it in his bones. Something large was circling. The red dragon finally stepped forward and took a piece of meat. It chewed, then let out a soft sound that almost felt like a purr. The blue dragon followed. Milo sat on an old crate and watched them eat. His hands rested on his knees, ready to move if needed, but he stayed calm. After they finished, the blue dragon limped. Milo noticed a dark mark on its wing, where the cable had burned through the scales. He stood and walked to a workbench. He grabbed a small case and opened it. Inside were tools and soft white cloth, and a bottle of clear gel used to fix burns on ship parts and skin. He walked back and knelt on the floor, careful to stay low. The red dragon stepped in front of the blue one. Its small body shook, but it did not back away. "I won't hurt him," Milo said. "I promise." The red dragon watched him. Then, slowly, it stepped aside. Milo reached out and touched the blue dragon's wing. The dragon flinched but did not pull away. Milo cleaned the burn and spread the gel over it. The blue dragon let out a soft sound and leaned closer. Milo felt something warm in his chest. It was not pride. It was something deeper. Outside, the shadow passed again. A loud roar shook the walls. Tools rattled. The lights flickered. Milo stood up fast and looked at the door. He knew what that sound meant. The elders had found them. He walked to a small screen on the wall and turned on the outside camera. The image showed a massive shape in the dust. Huge wings. Scales like dark stone. Eyes like fire in the night. Milo swallowed. "Okay," he said to himself. "Okay." He looked at the dragons. They were pressed close together, staring at the door. He could send them out. He could open the door and step aside. The elders would take them, and Milo would go back to his quiet life. But when he took a step toward the door, the blue dragon grabbed his pant leg with a small claw. It did not pull hard. It just held on. Milo froze. He looked down at the small creature, scared but trusting him. He closed his eyes for a moment. Then he turned off the screen. Milo went to a corner of the room and pulled down a large metal sheet. He slid it in front of the door. It would not stop an elder, but it might slow one down. He moved tools and crates to block the windows. The red dragon watched him and let out a low sound. "Yeah," Milo said. "I know. This is a bad idea." The ground shook as something heavy landed outside. The roar came again, closer now. Milo grabbed a long metal bar and stood near the door. His hands were steady, even though his heart was not. The dragons moved closer to him. They stood at his sides, small wings brushing his legs. He felt their heat and their fear. A shadow crossed the light under the door. A deep voice, not in words but in sound and pressure, filled the air. It was not a threat. It was a question. Milo did not understand it, but he understood the meaning. Mine, he said, even though he knew how foolish it sounded. They're under my care. The pressure grew, like the air itself was pushing back. Milo stood his ground. The red dragon lifted its head and let out a small flame. It did not reach the door. It only lit the air between them. The blue dragon spread its wings, just a little. The pressure faded. The shadow moved away. Milo let out a long breath and leaned against the wall. His legs felt weak. The dragons looked up at him. Their eyes were bright, not just with fear now, but with something else. Trust. Milo sat down on the floor, and the two young dragons curled beside him. Outside, the wind carried the sound of wings fading into the dark. Morning came slowly over the scrap world. Milo woke to a quiet hum from the small generator in his workshop. The two young dragons were asleep near the warm lights. Their bodies were small but strong, and Milo could see new energy in their eyes, even in sleep. He stretched and went to the door. The dust outside had settled, but huge marks in the ground told him something had passed through during the night. Long, deep scratches, like claws dragging over metal. Milo's chest tightened. The elders were near. He knelt by the dragons. Time to wake up, he said softly. The blue dragon opened one eye and yawned. The red dragon's head lifted slowly. Milo could see the worry in their eyes. They knew the elders had come, even if they did not understand. He pushed open the door just enough to peek outside. Two massive figures stood among the wreckage. Their scales were dark, shining in the weak morning light. Their wings stretched wide, larger than anything Milo had ever seen. Eyes like molten metal glared at the workshop. Milo stepped back, but he did not close the door. Fear tried to grip him, but he pushed it down. The dragons stirred. The red one hissed softly. The blue one lifted a wing. Milo understood. They were ready to defend him if he needed it. The elders moved slowly, careful, their steps like thunder. One of them let out a low growl, deep and rolling, not loud but powerful enough to shake the floor. It was a warning. Milo did not flinch. He grabbed a small box of tools and held it like a shield. The dragons followed him with their eyes. Milo's mind raced. He had to show them he meant no harm, but he also had to protect the younglings. One elder stepped forward, and its head lowered just slightly. Milo noticed something strange. The elder's wing was bent. A piece of metal stuck in the scales. Milo's heart skipped. The elder was injured. Maybe I can help, Milo whispered. He stepped closer to the open door. The elder hissed and shook its head. Milo froze. He remembered the small drone he had fixed last week. He grabbed it and pushed it forward. It hovered near the elder's wing, lights blinking. Milo carefully picked up a long metal rod. With gentle movements, he lifted the piece of metal stuck in the scales. The elder did not move away. Milo's hands shook slightly, but he did not stop. The metal came free. A low, soft rumble came from the elder. It was not a growl. It was approval. The other elder watched silently. Milo's eyes met its gaze. He held up his hands. I only want to help, he said, not knowing if they understood. The young dragons stepped forward. They circled Milo slowly. The red one hissed, but it was a warning, not aggression. The blue one nudged Milo's leg. Milo felt their trust. The first elder moved closer. Its massive head bent low, eyes scanning Milo's face. For a moment, it seemed like it could crush him, but it did not. Milo stayed still, calm. The other elder finally stepped forward. Its claws dug into the metal ground, leaving deep marks. It examined the workshop, then looked at the young dragons. Milo felt the air press around him. The elders were testing him. They wanted to see if he belonged near their young. Milo did not move. He let the dragons be the bridge. The younglings nuzzled his legs, and their small warmth reached the elders. Something shifted. One elder lowered its wing closer to Milo. The tip almost touched his shoulder. Milo stayed frozen. The elder's eyes softened. The pressure in the air eased. The other elder moved as well. It leaned down, inspecting the small dragons. Then, slowly, it touched the red dragon with its snout. A soft rumble rolled across the workshop. Milo stepped back, letting the dragons meet the elders on their own. The young dragons chirped and huffed, wings lifting a little. Milo watched, amazed. He realized something important. The elders did not attack. They were curious. They were testing. Milo felt a small smile. He had done it. His human courage, his care for the younglings, had earned a place here, at least for a moment. The elders moved back slightly, watching Milo and the young dragons carefully. The blue dragon chirped and flapped its wings. Milo stepped closer to it and touched its head gently. The elders' eyes followed him, then softened again. Milo realized that the dragons were teaching the elders about him. His small acts of courage and kindness spoke louder than words. He had no weapon. No shield. Just himself. And it was enough. For the first time, Milo understood something he had never believed: humans could earn respect, even from the oldest and strongest of dragonkind. The elders backed away a little, their massive bodies still looming, but no longer threatening. Milo exhaled, letting his shoulders drop. The workshop was quiet, save for the hum of his generator and the soft breaths of the young dragons. Outside, the wind carried the sound of distant roars, but Milo knew the elders would not harm him, not yet. They were watching, learning, and judging. Milo knelt beside the blue dragon. "We made it," he said softly. The dragon looked up at him, eyes wide and trusting. Milo knew the real test was just beginning. But for now, he had survived the gaze of the dragon elders, and something deep inside told him that the impossible had already started. Night fell over the scrap world. The sky was dark purple, and the moons hung low like silver eyes. Milo sat on a crate, watching the two young dragons sleep. He felt their warmth beside him, small bodies rising and falling. Outside, he knew the elders waited. He did not know what to expect. The dragons had already trusted him. Now, the elders wanted something more. Milo did not feel fear. He felt ready. A deep rumble shook the ground. Milo looked at the door. Shadows moved across the walls as the elders arrived. Their wings stretched, massive and dark, their eyes glowing like fire. The wind carried their presence, and dust swirled in great clouds. Milo stood. He picked up his tools. No weapon could match the elders, but maybe his mind could. The first trial came quickly. The eldest elder lowered its head and spoke without words. The sound pressed against Milo's chest, like gravity itself. He staggered but did not fall. The elder wanted strength. Milo understood. He grabbed a long metal rod and lifted a fallen beam from the corner of the workshop. It was heavy and twisted, almost too much for him to carry. The elder's eyes followed every move. Milo did not look away. He placed the beam where it belonged, balancing it perfectly. The elder rumbled softly, almost like a purr. Milo exhaled. The second trial came next. The red dragon stepped in front of him and hissed at the other elder. Milo realized it was testing his patience. The blue dragon tried to push him toward a small pile of sharp scrap. Milo stepped back carefully, thinking fast. The elder wanted intelligence, quick thinking. Milo grabbed a crate and rolled it in front of the blue dragon to block the scrap. Then he took a wrench and tightened a loose panel above the door. Sparks fell, but he caught them with metal sheets. The elders watched, silent but alert. Milo's mind raced. Every action mattered. Every choice could earn or lose their trust. The third trial came with fear. A massive shadow darkened the workshop. One elder lifted its wings and created a small whirlwind of dust and small debris. Milo felt himself pushed back. He stumbled but stayed on his feet. The young dragons hissed and flapped their wings, circling him. Milo realized the trial was about teamwork and courage. He stepped forward, using his body to block the blue dragon from the worst of the wind. The red dragon curled at his feet. Milo's hands grabbed a pipe and held it like a brace, steadying himself against the force. The whirlwind passed. The elders stepped back. Milo was breathing hard, but he had not fallen. The dragons looked at him, small eyes wide with admiration. Milo smiled, though he did not feel proud. He felt connected. The final trial was unseen. The elders lowered their heads and studied Milo closely. They wanted empathy, to see if a human could care for something beyond themselves. Milo did not need words. He walked to the blue dragon, touched its wing gently, and whispered, "It's okay. I've got you." The red dragon leaned against his leg. The elders watched as Milo treated the younglings with careful hands, soft words, and calm patience. They had never seen such care from a human. They had seen strength, speed, and danger before. But this was different. The night grew darker. Stars blinked in the sky. Milo stayed with the dragons, keeping them close and safe. Outside, the elders made no move to attack. Instead, they circled the workshop, wings folded, eyes watching, judging. Milo felt a new kind of fear, not of attack, but of failing these creatures who trusted him. One small mistake could end everything. He went to the workshop wall and pulled down a panel. Inside were tools and spare parts. He worked quickly, reinforcing weak spots and building small barriers. Sparks flew, metal scraped. The dragons watched quietly, sensing his determination. Finally, after what felt like hours, the elders paused. The pressure in the air lessened. Milo dropped onto a crate, exhausted. The young dragons curled beside him. He felt their small heat against his legs. Then, something surprising happened. The eldest elder rumbled deeply, a sound full of respect. The wings that had cast shadows like mountains lifted slightly, and the other elder followed. They had judged him, and he had passed. Milo looked at the dragons. Their eyes were bright, trusting. He realized that humans could survive not only by strength but by courage, intelligence, and heart. Even among the oldest and strongest beings, a human could make a difference. Outside, the wind died down. The shadows of the elders moved away, but Milo knew they would watch. He had earned something tonight, something more than safety, trust. He touched the blue dragon gently. "We did it," he whispered. The dragon chirped softly. The red dragon nudged his hand. Milo smiled, tired but alive. Night on Lotties 9 was quiet again. But Milo knew that the real test was only beginning. The elders had noticed him, and the story of one human who could face dragons without fear was just starting. The first light of dawn crept over Lotties 9, painting the metal ruins gold and pink. Milo sat outside his workshop, leaning on a broken crate. The two young dragons were beside him, wings folded, eyes alert. The night had been long and exhausting, but it had changed everything. Milo could hear the wind moving through the scraps, carrying whispers of the elders. He knew they were close, watching from the edges of the junkyard. Their eyes were sharp, their wings massive, their presence heavier than the strongest storm. But Milo did not feel fear anymore. He felt calm. The blue dragon stretched its small wings and chirped. Milo smiled and reached out, letting his fingers brush over the soft scales near its neck. The red dragon nudged his side with its nose, testing him gently, as if to say, "Are you ready?" Milo stood slowly. "I'm ready," he said quietly. The ground trembled as shadows moved closer. The elders had arrived fully. Their massive forms cut through the dawn light, scales shining with gold and silver tones. The air vibrated with their presence. Every instinct told Milo to run. Every thought told him to hide. But he stayed. One elder stepped forward, the eldest of them all. Its eyes glowed like coals in the morning light. Milo could feel the weight of its judgment pressing down. The young dragons moved closer to him, small bodies shaking but brave. Milo put a hand on each of them. The elder lowered its head slowly, nostrils flaring. Milo took a step forward, meeting its gaze. He spoke softly, though he doubted it could understand, "I only want them safe. I only want them to live." For a long moment, nothing happened. The world seemed still. The wind paused. Dust hung in the air like frozen smoke. Then the elder exhaled a low, deep rumble. Milo did not flinch. He watched as the massive creature leaned down closer, its snout almost touching the head of the red dragon. The red dragon hissed softly and spread its wings. The elder paused, then touched the dragon's head gently with its nose. A rumble of approval rolled through the air. Milo felt the vibrations through the ground beneath him. The other elder joined, moving beside the first. Its eyes studied Milo closely, scanning every movement, every gesture. Milo held himself steady, showing no fear. His hands were empty, his heart full of courage. Then something incredible happened. Both elders lowered their heads fully, wings folding slightly, and a deep, soft rumble filled the air. It was not a threat. It was respect. Recognition. Milo blinked. He had never expected this. Humans were small, fragile, short-lived compared to dragons. They were not supposed to earn respect from beings who had ruled the skies for centuries. Yet here he was, standing before them, unarmed, unafraid, and trusted by their young. The blue dragon chirped happily and flapped its tiny wings. The red dragon nudged Milo's leg again. Milo reached down and stroked their heads, feeling a warmth he had never known before. The eldest elder lifted its massive head and let out a long, low sound. Milo understood it as a signal. The young dragons huddled closer, looking up at him. He smiled. He had done more than save them. He had earned their family's respect. The elders stepped back slightly, but their eyes never left Milo. They had not bowed out of fear. They had bowed in honor. A human had faced their judgment, had faced the night of trials, and had not broken. Milo felt a strange pride, the kind that did not come from strength or wealth, but from doing the right thing when it mattered most. The small dragons chirped, curling around his feet. The elders rumbled again, and the sound rolled across the junkyard like distant thunder, powerful and deep. For the first time, Milo felt the connection between humans and dragons. It was not about size, power, or age. It was about courage, compassion, and heart. The elders finally stepped back completely. They lifted into the sky, wings casting huge shadows over the junkyard. Their flight was slow and measured, almost ceremonial. The young dragons chirped after them, then turned to Milo. Milo knelt down and held out his hands. The dragons nudged him gently, small, trusting gestures. He smiled at them, tired but happy. They had survived. They had been recognized. The sun rose higher, casting gold across the scrap world. Milo looked around at the broken machines, the twisted metal, the endless dust, and realized something important. Even in a place forgotten by most, a human could make a difference. Even a small human could stand against giants, not with weapons, but with courage and heart. He stood slowly, the young dragons at his sides. Milo looked up at the sky where the elders still flew, distant but watching. He whispered, "We did it. Together." The dragons chirped, flapped their wings, and nudged him again. Milo laughed softly. He had earned a place in their world. Not as a master, not as a threat, but as one they trusted. On Lotties 9, as the first light of dawn touched the rusted ruins, a human mechanic had done the impossible. The young dragons were safe, the elders had bowed, and the story of one human who could earn the respect of dragons had just begun. Milo looked at the horizon, a quiet smile on his face. He knew this was only the start of something greater. And for the first time in his life, he felt like he truly belonged.